today we're going to meet with these guys. So I want you all to introduce yourselves, give us your title, and kind of what you do. So we'll start right here on the end. We'll just go this way.
Okay. My name is Becky Kuykendall. I'm here mostly for owning Core Cycle. We're an indoor cycling and Pilates studio. I also own and operate my own hair salon as well.
Beautiful. Awesome.
I'm Stan Sorensen. I cut hair.
He does.
I do the things.
He does.
I'm Carrie Eskridge. I do Idaho weddings and events.
I'm Paige Geske, and I am a university development counselor for Grand Canyon University and also an author of a book called Milepost 95.
Oh, that's awesome. Okay, so I told you guys about a question I was going to ask you before we came out, before any of this started, and I want to lead with this. And you guys can answer however you want. One of you, if you feel more like passionate about something, feel free to raise your hand, speak up, do whatever. But first question is this. What is the number one thing that you have learned through struggle? What would you say is the number one thing you have learned through struggle?
So I have learned through struggle that I'm a lot stronger than I thought I was.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so expound on that. What is a way that you can tell me that you found your strength?
So everybody knows this last year was terrible for events, and events is what I do. And really, I could have just laid down and cried alongside my brides and just called it a crapshoot and quit for the year. But what I learned was that I could pivot my business and take care of these brides by staying strong. And I had a lot of people around me that reminded me that I was strong. My husband was my biggest fan and helped me through the hardest year that I've gone through in my business.
Yeah, I think that it was a tough year to probably do events. So you learned that you're stronger than you are. That's great. That's a great one. What else? Yeah.
I found out I was surrounded by great people. When we got told we were closing down, I see people out there, Chris, different people started calling us, what can we do for you? Mm-hmm. I didn't realize how many cool people I was surrounded by. The 2 months we were closed, we had these great friends calling, going, hey, you doing all right? The network that we're all building here was so huge for me.
Yeah, I even remember, and I'm sorry, I brag on Stan just because I've gone and gotten my hair cut there, but I remember when you guys closed personally, I was like, does my wife have to cut my hair? Like, what happens? That's got to be essential, right? Like, my poor wife is not required to cut my hair, so it's going to be me, and it's going to be bad, right? But that's tough, right? Businesses closing down is difficult, but finding out that you're surrounded by good people is important. I think Jace even said, this was part of my notes I took from him, he said that your community is important. Your 5 people you hang out with the most matter because they are a representation of maybe the things that you can withstand and kind of the character of the people that you're around, right? And if you can have strong people around you when you go through difficult things, they're going to stay around you when you go through difficult things. I'm sure all of your stories can have that to a degree, as the people who've helped you survive means that you weren't doing it alone, and that's probably a big part of it. Yeah, Becky, you were going to say something.
I learned that I was put on this planet to help people. And by having to shut down, that was taken from me. And that was really hard for me. It was hard for me to feel that I couldn't help. And I sat at home and spun in circles a lot. My poor husband, God bless him, he'd come home. What happened today? I don't know. But yeah, I mean, both of my jobs and everything that I do is to service others. And that I was grateful to do my part and to do what we could. But it was a really hard time for me to realize that I couldn't do that.
Yeah. So. I mean, each of you guys, I'm sure, and many of you guys in the audience, like any good leader, part of the core value of who they are as a person is to help people, right? That's your goal, is to help. You're providing a service. We said it earlier, everyone's a salesperson, but the reality is I think the heart of that is to help, right? We want to help people. And when you want to help somebody, and you specifically help people even with their life and health, right? You're going, man, I'm helping people stay healthy. If I can't help people stay healthy, then I'm going to go crazy. And did you bring your bicycle into your house? Do you have a cycling station in your home now?
No.
Is that what you meant when you were spinning in circles?
Yeah, no, I literally my
just
mind
actually,
went,
360.
It was bad, Dale. It was real bad.
Yeah, my son just recently figured out how to do a 360. It's the greatest thing ever. He usually calls it out before he does it. Not off of anything, just on the ground, 360. It's It's great stuff. But yeah, no, we can go in circles, literally and metaphorically speaking, when we don't feel like we're helping people. So that's a great point. What about you?
Well, I'm gonna give her a little shout out here because I can.
Do it.
And we all three bike together. So they didn't tell me to wear melons, so I'm feeling a little.
Sandy, you don't bike with them?
No.
I
You
bike.
guys don't let Stan bike with you?
Sorry,
Is it because his
Becky.
hair is longer?
It might get caught in the chain. You know?
I would imagine his beard just getting stuck in a spoke. That'd be so terrible.
So one of the things that Becky did to pivot during it was the gym shut down. Well, there's some of us that really cannot function without spinning. I'm telling you right now, you do not want to be around me if I cannot go to Core Cycle. It's not pretty. My kids will say, Mom, you need to go to the gym.
Aww.
So one of the ways that Becky pivoted is she brought the bikes to us.
Wow.
So she reached out to us and she said, hey, what do you think of this idea if I bring the bike, this $3,000 bike, to your home? You have to sign a waiver. And that was a beautiful thing. That was a way that she pivoted during the pandemic, and it was helping people because it helped us not lose our minds and me end up at Canyon View.
Yeah.
Fight the quarantine 15.
They were full.
How many of you guys' least favorite word right now is pivot? Everyone loves it, but I feel like a lot of people are tired of saying it. But what I've truly seen, even just from you guys, is people who are willing to adapt things that are difficult and pivot to things when they're hard. Man, it's not fun, but it's always worth it. And your customers appreciate it, and your family appreciates it, and your business thrives because they see someone who's not willing to just hit a wall and just get stuck. They're like, this stinks, and they can stay there. But if your ability is to turn around, trusting people, I didn't know bicycles even cost $3,000. Gotta be honest, that's like a car price for me. So it's like, that's a car. It's also probably a really nice bike. So, but yeah, that's an incredible amount of trust. How did you trust people with that kind of thing?
I didn't have a choice.
There you go.
I mean, we were, at the time, we were like 16 months old in our business. And so we had to pivot and do something. I mean, I had to do something. And we, especially because of our location, have a large population of members that are hospital employees. And so even leading up to shutdown, I'd had a few people reach out and say, we just are in a position where we're exposed too much, we can't come in. We're really sorry, but we just need to take a break. And I said, well, I've got 35 bikes sitting in this room. And I mean, unfortunately, we don't fill it all the time. And at that time, especially, we had a lot that were sitting. And I said, well, let me bring something to you because mental health is huge. And that was one of the things that they were struggling with, being so burnt out, is they needed a way to get that out. And I said, well, I can bring something to you that will help you. Yeah. And like I said, I knew I felt helpless, and we still recorded workouts and did our thing. But even still, I mean, generally I'm there, more hours than I like to admit, but to only be there an hour every morning to record a workout and then go home and sit, that was my struggle. But really, I mean, I said, this is all I can do is take a bike to you. I've got 34 of them, and let me help you out. So
Yeah, that's amazing.
Do the math on that. You're welcome.
No, too much math. Anyway.
And I said, I had no choice but to trust them. And I just said, well, here we go. We're just going to see what happens. And
Yeah.
everybody fortunately took care of them, and we got them all back. And
You did get them all back. That's amazing.
no, I have one still out. I'll take that back. I
Okay.
have one still out, but I like her a lot, and so she gets to keep it. For
So you
a while.
haven't sent a bounty hunter yet?
Yeah, no.
Yeah, okay, that's fine. I know some people if you need them, though. Just let me know. But what about you, Paige? I mean, your whole life, you've overcome a lot of struggles. You've gone through a lot of things. Tell us some ways that things you've learned overcoming struggle.
Well, I think for those of you that don't know my story, I was in a really bad car accident, and I had to learn to walk again. And so I was in a wheelchair. I was in a medical bed for a month, and then I was in a wheelchair for 3 months. And now I bike with Becky.
And walk like a
yeah.
boss.
So anyway, but the biggest thing has been my faith and just really relying on God and my faith with the Lord that I've had since I was 18 years old. And then the community. I mean, I am a very independent person. And so when you get something like your health taken away from you, you have to, I couldn't take my kids to soccer. I couldn't do anything. I was literally in a wheelchair, and my husband was not around at the time. He was living in another state, my ex-husband. now. And so I had to reach out to community. And so that's another thing that I think is really important when you're struggling and when you're independent like me. It was very hard to reach out and ask people for help. But that's something that I learned through that. And so, like Carrie said, I've become a stronger person and a much more empathetic person because of what I've gone through. And I wouldn't change it at all.
Yeah. I would say, and this might just be my own personal opinion, but how many of you guys would say that a lot of leaders you know are pretty independent? They're all willing to just do it, get it done. Like the video, I mean, our team did a great job. Can you give it up for our media team? They put all that work in together to make all those videos. Phenomenal. I know Scott firsthand literally came in crazy early, like 5 a.m. the past few days to make sure all the graphics and stuff were ready just so you guys could enjoy something that looked clean. He's a rock star. But I know so many leaders, and I feel like the strength that they have is what carries them. And even in my own life, I've had to determine that I've come to the end of my own abilities a lot in this last year. And what's been empowering for me is seeing the times that I've been able to lean on other people. And what that's done is remind me, one, it's not all about me. Two, people around me are willing to help. And three, when I empower those around me, I don't just make things doable for me, but I empower other people to do things as well. So it's not just selfish. I'm literally building other people up. But I know a lot of leaders who, because you guys are the ones, like that video said, like you're up early, you're the last to leave, you're the first to show up, you're the first to take, a miss on you're the first to not get paid so that you can make sure your people get paid. You guys are the people who go the extra mile every single time. And sometimes that leadership can be lonely, right? And I think that it's really important that what you've all brought up is the reality is, as a leader, it doesn't have to be lonely. Community is one of the most valuable things you can do to make you resilient, because then you recognize that the weight you bear on your shoulders doesn't fall squarely on you, but it can be helped with the other people around you. So that's a great point. Thank you guys for sharing. We want to go to you guys, though, now. I think that was plenty of time. Hopefully you guys came up with some questions. So here's what we have. We have 2 mics up in the front. We want to hear from you. What are some questions regarding the topic of resilience? Maybe this can help you a little bit with your question forming, if you're still trying to think of something to say. I want you to think of maybe a question about what other people have done to survive during these times, maybe even a question in your own business. You're like, hey, I'm currently struggling with this issue, and I'm really worn out by this issue, or this employee is really grating, and let's call them challenging, and difficult to work with. How are you resilient as a leader to come in every day and do those things? So I want to hear from you guys. Anybody comes right up? Yes, come up, grab a mic. Oh, there you go. I don't know. Here's what we'll do, because I think there might be a audio recording that we're going to do. So if you wouldn't mind. I don't mind. Awesome. Perfect. Thank you so much. If not, I was going to say we'll just have them repeat whatever it is. Look at you, came forward. This is all just a practice from earlier. I wasn't going to point out whose apple it was. Okay. I won't stand still while you shoot it. I don't know if you...
I'll be the mic tester. Is it working?
You can just take it out.
Okay, so my question is, I would like to know something that all of you implemented because of the challenges of COVID that you love and you'll continue to do.
Ooh, that's such a good question. I love that. So just in case you guys didn't... Orpheum just cries inside. They're like, our mics! Our precious mics. We trusted you. So what is one thing that you did in COVID that you actually ended up loving and are going to continue to do? Any thoughts?
So my business is very niche. I do a lot of weddings, and what I saw come out of COVID was micro weddings, intimate weddings, and elopements. And I've fallen absolutely in love with them. Seeing a bride not worry about 400 guests or stressing about the day, and she and her fiance standing up on a mountain with just the beauty of nature surrounding them, and seeing the day really being enjoyed is something that I have just fallen in love with. So I actually have pivoted a bit, and my niche is now working with brides who really want to have that intimate ceremony. And it's been an incredible experience.
Would you say, what are your projections? Maybe this is too intimate of a question. If it is, you can just say, I don't want to talk about that. But what are your projections on what you foresee your number of weddings will be versus group weddings and more kind of smaller scale / elopement weddings?
So this year, I've actually seen people still scale back a lot, probably about 50% of them. And that might change in the future. But now that we've experienced this, more brides are like, I can do that. I don't have to feed 400 people. Like, that's kind of the coolest thing in the whole wide world. I think it's going to be a trend.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you for sharing, Carrie. What else? What are some other things you guys have done that you feel like you might continue?
Something that I did, and it's so small and minuscule and totally on the back end side, but I bought all of my instructors their own microphones. And now I don't have to replace a mic when somebody sweats through it because it's their responsibility.
Okay,
That's just
gotta
a thing.
follow up on that.
Yeah. So
How often do people sweat through a mic?
I have one instructor that it's like a situation. Like this is gross, I'm sorry, but like we sweat for a living, so it is what it is. No, but so she like actually had to get a mic that like they give the SeaWorld people.
That's amazing.
I'm guessing who that is.
And
Now I
any
wanna
of you
take
who
a cycle
come know who
class.
it is, and
Bunch
we
of
love her
whales?
equally, but it's just a thing. Like some people sweat more than others.
Totally.
Like, I'm not a sweater, so I've never been the problem. But
Yeah, well, yeah. I mean,
yeah.
you would never be a problem.
well,
right?
and I'll
Yeah.
just buy my own damn mic. Like I could care less, like whatever. So I actually invested in a super expensive one, and we were cycling that one because at first it was hard to get them.
Yeah.
It was something that everybody was doing as a post-COVID protocol, so that we weren't like spitting. It's gross, right? Like, sorry, but and
I
then,
am fascinated. Don't you worry.
And then, so then once I got all of them, everybody was like, well, what about that one? I'm like, listen, y'all, if you want that one, I will give you $100 towards it, but that one's mine.
Yeah.
So I will fortunately never have a problem. But yeah, no, we like distributed microphones, and as I bring in new instructors, I do the same thing. So then that way, and so that's probably the only protocol that I had to instill that I actually enjoyed.
Yeah.
The rest sucked.
Yeah. And I think sometimes we recognize things are implemented that suck but are still good, right? Like we can all say that, like for me, I hate going to the gym. I still don't like going
Because
to
you
the
don't
gym.
spin.
Yeah, I don't spin.
Yeah, exactly. True
Because I would be the person who would need the SeaWorld mic, okay? I don't need anyone to see that. I'm just kidding. For real though, like, that's not a fun thing. I don't like it yet. I'm hoping one day I'm gonna love it, but I just keep telling myself to do it, and I do it anyway, because it's good for me, right? And there's a
Nobody's
lot
ever mad when they're done.
Yeah. These are great points. And now you'll probably get all of your team SeaWorld mics from here on out, so you never have to worry
No,
about
that's
mic.
just the one person, because that one was a little bit more spendy. But everybody else, they got regular ones. They're
You're
fine.
only getting a SeaWorld mic if you need it.
Yes.
All right, good stuff. Yeah.
So I had an interesting situation. So I call it the day the world shut down, which was March 25th for me. But I was working for Sparklight Advertising, and they basically gave us an hour to get everything and go home. I had never worked from home before. Was terrifying for a flaming extrovert. I'm just telling you. Me and my dog was terrifying, even though I love my dog. And so we got sent home, and that same day, I was actually supposed to finish my third interview for the job that I'm in right now. And the university did a complete shutdown of frozen. They froze their jobs for 9 months.
Gotcha.
So from March to November, I went home and worked from home, and that time taught me that I could work from home. So I had this 9 months. Well, I think this is fascinating because 9 months is gestation, right, of a baby. So
Yes,
it took me 9 months of growing to realize that I could work from home. And then this job became available, and I applied for it. And of course, didn't have to apply again, but did the final interview and got the job. So I had to pivot working from home as an extrovert, and now I love it.
Yeah.
Like, I can't imagine not working from home. I get to go out and I do events and I'm with people all the time, but I would have never learned that had it not been for the pandemic.
Can I press you just a little further on that? What are some ways that you found to enjoy working at home? Because there might be some people out here who maybe they still hate it. And maybe they, for whatever reason or the other, I know Idaho's pretty open, and that's kind of a wonderful blessing that we have being in this great city and state. But what are some ways that if someone is still in that space, or they have to find themselves pivoting to that space, that you found to enjoy it as a person who's an extrovert?
And I live alone, so there's nobody I can talk to. That's why I go to CORE. So I planned my meals. Thank you very much,
There you go.
Diet Doc and folks. Plan your meals, and so meal prepping so that food is not an issue or problem, that you know what you're going to eat. And then the other thing I did was I time when I eat. So there's not like a snacking issue, like you eat at this time and you eat at this time and you drink this much water and you drink this much water. And then I've been very, very intentional to make sure that I continue exercise at CORE and hiking the canyon and walking and lifting weights. And I also am very intentional to make dates with people, with friends that build me up and that are.
One-
And I've learned those things.
No, yeah, that's wonderful. A thing that I heard, and I was just curious too on this, and I didn't have to work from home for very long, so I'll say I'm very blessed by that. But one thing I've heard as well is just getting up and getting ready every day like you're going to work. Did you find that helped you at all? Was being prepared and putting yourself together, even though you didn't have to maybe, was that helpful? Did that add any improvement to that space?
Yeah, I tried. I mean, there were some stretch bands days, okay? So,
Yeah.
you know, dress up, right?
Absolutely. I'm
Bug
not
waist.
saying you had to do the whole thing, at least the top half, right?
Yeah, no, I would definitely agree. And then the other thing, I actually was fortunate enough in that I have a room in my home where my office is an office. And so I tend to work too much or can work too much, and I've really had to set boundaries about that, and especially like on Friday, literally shutting my door.
Yeah.
Shutting the office door and going, okay, that door is not going to open. I'm not going to go in there and work, but just, I mean, being honest with yourself about who you are and what your boundaries are and how to play that out for your own health.
Yeah, that's good. Sam, was there anything that you had during the pandemic that you'd say that maybe wasn't super fun, but it was good and you continue it?
No, I think all of us at our shop realized that we needed to spend more time with our families.
That's
That
awesome.
we didn't work 6 days a week, 12-hour days. We made more time for our family. And since we've went back to work, we've really worked on making sure we all get those days off and do those things with our family instead of just chasing that almighty buck.
Yeah, that's amazing. Yeah, that's super good. I think your family's probably appreciated that too.
I don't know that my son is.
Let me rephrase that. Some families, I think there's this great dynamic, and I love people who can take and pivot things. And I think that's one of the key abilities of a strong leader, is they can take anything and make it wonderful, right? When I had to be at home, I remember this was months and months and months and months ago, but I remember when I got COVID, I was like, to stay at home, and everything sucks and it's terrible, but then I was like, I get to be at home. I get to see my boys all day, like from a glass box. I'm just kidding. Like from a distance, I waved at them. It was wonderful. But it was great. I got to spend whole days at home with my family that I didn't have before. And I think that that's such an incredible reminder that one thing that happens is when your life is required to change, you are required to assess what's important, right? And at the end of all of this, everyone's lives were required to change, and then we were required to reassess importance, right? You assessed, man, health is important, community is important, working out is important, learning that bigger isn't always better is important, learning that family is important. And I think you guys can each have a takeaway that you maybe went away from this and reevaluated or maybe reprioritized some spaces of importance. That's wonderful. That's great. Any other questions? We need at least a few. Yeah, perfect. Come on up. And you can take the mic out too, because I know that's roughly at your sternum there. So I don't expect you to do that.
Thank you. It's someone who, has appreciated limiting and supportive beliefs and how they can shape your life. I'm always curious about when you're staring at the abyss, whether that was in COVID or something like, you've had an accident in your life. What is kind of the mantra that made you take courage after you went through that misery or whatever? What is the thing that you kept saying to yourself that brought you out and made you turn something awful into something amazing?
Yeah, that's a great question. What was your motivational pep talk to yourself?
We can do hard things.
We can do hard things. Yeah. That's good. Can you give an example of maybe how you played that out in your own head? Like when you got to a space, did you literally say it? Did you believe it? How did you allow yourself to go from letting it be words to letting it be truth?
We just apply it every day. I mean, I actually stole that from one of my very dear friends, but we use it a lot in class. You know, it's part of an instructor mantra. We can do hard things. You can do this. You can get past this next 30 seconds or what have you. And then I had to pivot and take it into my own hands. Like I said, leading up to our COVID shutdown, we can do hard things. We can figure this out. We can do it. And, one day I had 2 friends come with me, and we loaded up my husband's snowmobile trailer with 34 of my babies, and we took them out. And, every day it was, we can do hard things. Working out alone in that room, taping workouts was hard. Mm-hmm. But every day we did it, and we figured it out. And then as we've transitioned back into this last year, as we've reopened and slowly expanded our classes and then brought them back down and then expanded them again, it was every day, like, we can do this. Mm-hmm. And more than anything, in the gym industry, I had even in the beauty industry, a huge appreciation for being where we are physically, because so much of even our country was still not there. Yeah. And seeing other colleagues and business partners having to close their facilities or still not be able to go back to work, it's as hard as I might feel that it is, or as much as I don't want to get up at 4 a.m. some days, like, I can do hard things. And I'd much rather be in the position I am than there. Yeah. So,
how do you go? I think one thing that leaders do a really good job at sometimes is coaching other people in difficult phrases. And then sometimes I think it's even harder to coach ourselves on those same difficult phrases. So how do you go from coaching someone like, hey, you can do this, to coaching yourself? What does coaching yourself look like? You're obviously great at coaching people and yourself. So how do you coach yourself well?
Surround yourself with those 5 people.
Yeah.
And you allow them to coach you.
Perfect.
And when you need it, they're there for you. And they'll tell you can do hard things. And it might be the same words, but you just need to hear it from somebody else. And so, obviously, like, we dig deep ourselves, but when you need it, you just surround yourself with those people that are there to coach you.
That's wonderful. Yeah, thank you for that. Anything else? What are some other phrases what are some things you told yourself when you were staring at what seemed like insurmountable odds or difficult challenges?
So I have a cross stitch. I know that dates me. I didn't make it. Somebody made it for me, okay?
You can, we don't cross stitch shame.
Don't judge, okay? I didn't do it. Somebody gave it to me.
Safe space for cross stitching, okay? We'll have you know.
But I got it as a high school graduation present, and it's in my office, and it's Philippians 4:13. I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. And so when I couldn't walk, or I couldn't do these things, I was like, this is not my strength. It's his strength that will enable me to get healthy and get better. And that it wasn't about me. I had I had a 6-year-old, an 11-year-old, and a 15-year-old, and their dad's not here. So it's like, what they got. I've got to get better. I've got to get well, and I want to be well so that I can be involved in their lives. And I remember a really interesting point in time for me was going to physical therapy at CPR, and all these shout outs. Wow.
That's the most cheering I've ever heard for physical therapy.
If you guys ever need a big fan, just hang out with Paige, I'm telling you.
So anyway.
Just kidding, therapy people, we love you.
Yeah, so I was in physical therapy, and this is a great story because a lot of you people know this other person. And I remember there was this girl. Okay, this is back in 2008, 2007. And she was there, and I asked what her story was, and they said she was in a car accident, but she would never get out of a wheelchair. It actually is Mac. It was Mackenzie Ellsworth. And I didn't know her at the time. I didn't know her name, didn't know who this person was. And I remember that hit me. It was like, I know I have to do the work, but I'm getting out of this wheelchair where other people can't and don't have a choice. So I can do hard things through Christ who strengthens me.
Yeah, I would say, so the takeaways, if I heard this right, you had a faith that empowered you, right? You had a family that depended on you, and you had a community that uplifted you, right? Those are the 3 things that I walked away just hearing. And in my own life, I can think of so many different times where, man, this last year, I don't care what time I have to be up. My family's going to get fed, right? My kids are going to have a house that has heating tonight. My wife is going to have what she needs to take care of our kids. You know how hard it is to take care of kids. I sit there every day amazed. I come home like, I don't know how you do this. Like, you're a rock star. You deserve the gold star every time I come home. Like, let me take them. I don't know how you made it for 8 hours. Sorry, go take a nap. Like, you deserve at least 3 more. Like, naps, not kids. Whoa. That would be like the worst thing to say. You're great at this. Here's 3 more. God bless my wife. But anyway, yeah, good faith, good community, and a family. You're resilient when you care about things beyond yourself. And I think a big thing that you guys are even mentioning is the reality that resiliency really comes when your world is bigger than yourself too. Because when you have other people you're fighting for, it becomes a battle worth fighting, right? That's great. Thanks for sharing that. Anything else? Any other words or statements you said to yourself?
So I started off saying this to everybody else, and I said it so much that it became my mantra, and that's, we'll get through this. You know, I had brides whose weddings were being canceled by the venue, we were on lockdown, they couldn't have their weddings, and we were replanning everything and trying to figure out what their wedding was gonna look like, and I just said all the time, like, we'll get through this, don't worry, we'll get through this, we'll figure it out, we'll get through this. And I said it so much that, I believed it, we'll get through this, we'll figure it out. And that really is it, everything is figure-outable.
Yeah, that's really good. I think you can speak reality. Like, your words have power. And we know this for other people, but I think it's important to be reminded that your words have power even to yourself. Here's a fun fact. I have a very strong fear of public speaking. Yeah, that's great. Good line of work to find yourself in. And usually my friends who know me well, like right before I speak, I'll start saying things are great all the time. How are you doing? Oh, everything's great. Everything's awesome. It's awesome. So good. How are you? Are you awesome? I'm awesome. Like a nervous talk, but everything I'm saying is positive because on the inside I'm telling myself that things are good. I had one friend of mine, right before I was about to speak, they found me and I was literally having a full-on anxiety attack, and I'm standing there like, are you going to faint? And I'm like, I hope not, but I'm strong. I can stand up. Everything's great. They're like, should I call someone? And I was like, no, I'm going to be fine. I need to get through this anxiety attack. I get through them all the time. It'll be just dandy. And they're like, that's not healthy. But the reality is you can speak life into your own life. I know that's kind of a redundant statement, but you can. And you can say something enough to yourself and even to other people that eventually you begin to speak the truth you need to hear, and you can believe the truth you need to hear. So that's a great point. What about you, Stan? Any pep talks you've given yourself?
I didn't. I played sports my whole life, never was any good, so I was always that last guy picked. It was just never quit. Aaron Gupton came in from Guppy's Hot Rod Grill yesterday, and we were talking about businesses that closed, and he said, did you ever think about closing? And it never crossed my mind. Becky, I know, never thought about quitting. We just didn't quit. You just get up and do what you have to do today, and then do what you have to do tomorrow. I see all these business owners out here that never quit.
Yeah.
Don't quit. I never said it to myself. It just never was a thought in my head, just keep going.
Absolutely. I think it's so important. One of the verbiages I've used in my life and my marriage and a bunch of other things is just like, I don't allow myself to say words that end things that are worth staying open. Does that make sense? In my marriage, I will never say the D word. That's just a word for my wife and I. Like, we don't use that. We don't talk about it, right? In my life, when it comes to my kids, I will never say the H word, hate, just in case you're wondering what the H word is. I will never tell my kids I hate you. That's just never going to happen. Because I might feel hate in my heart, but I know that what I'm feeling isn't what I'm going to put on them, right? And there are certain words I'm not allowing myself. And as leaders in this community, you've allowed yourself to not let quit be a part of your verbiage. And I think it's so great is seeing a bunch of people, and even a room full of people, who can face something that's so challenging and be able to say, you know what? Quit was never a part of my vocabulary. Pivot might have been, even though I didn't love it. Or new season might be another one, even though maybe you didn't like that word either. But whatever it was, you picked a word that wasn't quit. And that's why you're here. And I think that's so important to remember that if you don't allow certain things to become a part of your mental vocabulary, then you'll realize that you're working without them. Like, I can go in my day, and it doesn't mean the day got easier, but I never once allowed quit to be an option. And therefore, I found ways to pivot, ways to survive, ways to not only be, alive, but thriving in difficult situations. So that's great. Thank you for sharing that, guys. That was awesome. Any other questions or thoughts? Yes, please come on up. This side of the room, way to go. Do you also have a really cool like coffee order from Code Red?
I order the same thing that she does.
Oh my gosh. That's okay.
I know. I'm going to piggyback on the last question a little bit. I'm just curious, like in the last year, as you motivated yourself, what did you have to do to motivate your teams that work for you to keep them positive and knowing that they were going to have a job when they came back from working at home, if that applies, and or your customers if you don't have teams?
That's a great question. How did you motivate your team? That's really good because we all know that it's hard to lead people when you're running on empty, right? You can't. One of the verbiages or phrases I've heard in my life is you can't lead out of an empty well, right? If your well is your life force and your willingness to do things, if that's empty, you're going to have a hard time leading other people. So how did you guys do that?
So we still had team meetings. I called everyone that I work with every day.
Wow.
How you doing today? You know, sometimes it was a good answer, and sometimes I wanted to hang up quicker.
Bad? Okay, see you later.
Yeah, but we still did things as a group.
Yeah.
We had lunch. My wife and I'd go over and visit. You know, we talk to these people every day. And I go back to the gym sometimes because I used to own a gym, but you become family with the people you work with. It's a family life. When you work out together, you become family. It wasn't that you were calling your customers or your coworkers, you were calling your family to check on them. So for us, and it was all of us, you know, every one of our group called and motivated us. Our customers, our clients, our brethren, as we call them, called us and helped us just as much.
Yeah.
So I think it was back to that community of just helping each other.
Absolutely. That's so good. What else, guys? That was wonderful.
So my team is seasonal anyway, so it was just an off season. We went through that, but again, back to the events. You know, with these brides, it was really just, you know, we'll pivot, we'll figure it out. Like, don't worry, we'll do something. And it was just the constant reminder that together we can find another way.
Yeah, that was really good. Paige, what about you?
Our team was spread all over, so we had a lot of Zooming, you know, Zoom. But that dated me too. There you go. Anyway, but one of the things that my boss did, it wasn't me doing, but it was really cool. He created this. Every Wednesday we had a Cahoots coffee break time together. So our team got together on Zoom and had coffee, and we played this Cahoots game, and then somebody would win. You know, it was a category or something. And it brought a lot of camaraderie together and community, and there's laughter. I mean, people were laughing, and that was so important.
Yeah.
Very important.
It's hard, but it's always important to still have fun. Like, you can't have fun during something that sucks. Like, it will just keep sucking. My sons and I got really good at Mario Kart. So that was our thing that we got good at during the pandemic. What about you, Becky?
My situation's a little different just because of the way my team is structured. I'm very lucky that for my instructor side of life, they were so eager to come back and so ready to be back, and I never had an issue. They were all very supportive. We all communicated throughout. I left the instructor bike in our studio and allowed them to come in and work out whenever they chose, and whether they wanted to record a workout for everybody else to do at home or whether they just wanted to come in and do their thing. That was their prerogative, but everybody was banging down the door to get back. But I consider all of my members as part of my team and family too, and so for their comfort coming back, especially those that had bikes, I said, if you're ready to bring it back, cool, I'll come get it. If you need more time at home, that's fine too. But I instantly had at least 10 to 15 people that were ready to come back. And so we brought those bikes in, and we kept our classes small. We kept people distanced apart until they were ready to come back. And just slowly over the last year, they've trickled back in, and people have said, I'm ready, I want to come back. This working out at home thing sucks. I need the environment, I need the people. And so we were very lucky to be able to balance that for people in their comfort zones and allowing them to come back when they were ready, and just my support of, if you're not ready, that's okay.
Yeah.
We kept our class sizes small, and like I said before, I've got 34 bikes in there, and we kept them at 15. So that way, if you came in and he came in and you guys didn't want to sit next to each other, you didn't have to.
Yeah, I wouldn't sit next to Stan.
I
I
mean-
don't want to look that bad next to someone that
Well,
good.
and if you sweat that bad, I don't think he wants to sit next to you.
Okay, I didn't need that particular.
But if people came in together and they did want to sit next to each other, there was plenty of room. And so we just tried to comfort people in whichever way we could and
Yeah.
to be their support system as much as possible and encourage them in whatever place they were in. Mm-hmm. That was where we tried to be.
One thing I think you brought a great point out that stuck out to me from what you were just saying is basically that hope multiplies, right? When you bring hope to a place, other people are hungry for it, right? I'm hungry for hope. And when I see someone who's hopeful, it's contagious. Like, I want to go be around that person. I want to go do stuff with that person. And as a leader, if you can find ways to bring hope, I mean, your question was like, how do you give them, what are ways that you can encourage that when they come back, things are still going to be there, or that they'll still have a job or whatever. I think the way that you do it is when you don't have an answer, you give hope. Because that's maybe all you have to hold, right? And maybe you are honest. I think honesty is one of the kindest things you can do. I think there's a phrase, and I don't remember the author of this phrase, so I apologize for not giving proper credit, but it says to be clear is to be kind, right? And so maybe that starts off with like, you know what? I don't know what happens next, but I know we're going to make it. Right? And I know that we're not quitting and that we're going to be here when this is over and we're going to be back in that space as soon as we can get back in that space. I might not know what that timeline looks like, but we're going to be working out together. And you bet your bottom, you can bring your SeaWorld microphone and you can show up here and work next to Stan and Alex if you have to. And we're going to ride these bicycles. And I don't know when it is, but I promise you it'll be there, right? And that hope is there even when you're clear. It's not you lying. You don't have to say, I have all the answers. But you have to tell them that you have hope. Because, if you don't have that, what do you have, right? And everyone here who's been resilient has in some way, I think, been impacted by the hope, either that they carry themselves or that someone else has helped carry for them. And if you don't have hope, find someone who does. If you do have hope, be that for someone else. And I think you guys do a great job, just even in your own examples, of explaining ways that you brought hope to your team, or that your teams brought hope to each other, or that you brought hope to your community of people that you were working with and to serve. So thank you for doing that. That's wonderful. Yes?
I was just going to add my tagline for my speaking, talking, writing is help for the transition, because I went through a lot of transitions, so I feel like I can help people get through transitions, doing hard things, and hope for the journey.
Yeah.
So you can get help for this, and then we can provide hope for people on whatever journey they are, wherever they are.
Yeah, that's wonderful. Wonderful. All right, we only have time for a couple more questions. We want to make sure, get you guys to an exciting lunch, but a couple of questions. Last two. I need bold people. I will send Jace for your wall. Thank you. Didn't have to send Jace. Phew. Jace is somewhere waiting to steal someone's wall. Thank you, Jace.
So I know we've spoken a lot.
Here, I'll get out of the way so you don't have to stare at that.
I know we've spoken a lot on how we've come out of this, but we've talked a lot about community, and I just know from today, this is super empowering for all of us. So what do we need to do to move forward in Twin Falls and as a community to keep this joy and this hope that's coming continuing without flatlining again?
Yeah, so just in case, I know your mic was a little bit out and on there, just in case anyone didn't hear, make sure I get this correct, how do we make sure to continue what is good? Is that basically the gist of the question?
Yeah, and I think it's just in the Twin Falls area specifically. We've all gone through this a little differently than most of the world, but in our community, just today, even talking to people about reconnecting and getting to know other business owners. So in a business sense, how do we help Twin Falls continue on this upward momentum and this hope that we have for what's coming next? How do we keep that rolling without flatlining?
That's a great question. Thank you for asking that. What are your thoughts, guys?
Well, the first word that comes to my mind is collaboration. Mm-hmm. I mean, we have an incredible community of leaders and people that are gifted and just so amazing. But I think if we collaborate and we get together, and whether it's you get together for lunch and kind of talk about what your business is doing or what your business is doing, and how can I help you? Well, let's plan. I mean, I know a little bit of how this whole thing came together, and it was major collaborating. Mm-hmm. And it was people picking people that they felt like could have an impact, make an influence, and then draw people together to feed into leaders. Mm. And so we got a bunch of 2Cs going on here. We got great community, and I think a lot of collaboration, and you take C squared, and we've got a lot going on.
Got a
And
lot
then
of
add
C's. I'm just kidding. Yeah, that's a great point. Other thoughts, guys?
I think exposure is huge. I tell people all the time because I'm very well aware that I'm a niche business. Cycling and Pilates is not for everybody. I get that. But know what I do because it might be for somebody you know.
Yeah.
So exposure. I mean, exposure and empower. So there we go with E-words. You're welcome.
Leaders are good with letters. Let me tell you what. Leaders and letters.
Know what people do, especially being a small, local, buy local community. I mean, so many people in our community support buying local. People ask me all the time, and it's a huge compliment to me, are you a franchise? No, I'm not, but thank you, because A, that means I'm doing something right. B, I'm not a franchise because we are a community that supports small, and I knew that if I did it right, Twin Falls would support me.
Yeah.
And I know that I'm a 1% business. Like I said, I'm a niche business, but I only need 1% to be successful. So know what I do. If you don't know who I am, you don't know where I'm located, I'm right across the street from Walmart, plug. Come see us, take a tour. We have humans there all the time to give you a tour. That's why I pay people to be there. And find out what we do, because again, it may not be for you, Pilates, what's that, who, what, whatever. Everybody knows that we cycle. Not everybody knows that we have another side of our business. Come find out what it is, so then you can tell somebody else about it.
Yeah, that's wonderful.
And not just my business, anybody's. I mean, I just speaking for myself here.
Yeah, and I mean, I grew up from the age of like 2 to 12 here to Twin, and then I moved back just a few years ago as an adult now. And I can say firsthand that as a person, as an adult living in this community, felt just like this I did when I was a kid. Everyone here cares about each other. Everyone here loves each other, right? Now we do that on a corporate level, and what does that have to look different? No, I think it's what's amazing about this community is that we're not too big that we think of ourselves better than others, right? I think one of the great ways that you can bring hope or continue this idea of hope is that you don't consider yourselves better than others, but you consider yourselves as an opportunity to help others be better, right? My goal is not to make any one person think I'm the best, but to try to see if I can build up other people. This community supports local so well, and I love that we're so passionate, and I feel like it's so cool that I can look out here and see people that I know all across this room, because you guys aren't just businesses, you're friends and family. And I think that that's a wonderful thing that we have that a lot of communities don't or aren't as fortunate to have, because maybe they are bigger and they kind of lose out on that community. So that's a great point.
I think it's just huge as we move forward more directly, like to empower those local businesses so that we keep that gem of Twin Falls and we don't lose out to a ton of corporate business.
Totally. That's great. Either one of you guys.
Go ahead.
So to recap, it's what we can do today to continue our momentum forward. And I think this is it. You know, I missed people. And I really feel like we were all missing that human connection. And so when I thought about this event and with my team, it was just, you know, you are the magic in the Magic Valley. And we need you to go out and spread that magic. We need the Magic Valley to be a happier place. And we start at the top. And that's the way we make the transformation in the entire Magic Valley. So this, coming together for this, is what we do.
Awesome.
That's great. Yeah.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah.
You know, for me being an older generation, social media has been a new thing. But I see a Virgil Horner or Jackie Walker, Grant Ball, sharing things on Facebook. Well, they may have X amount of followers, and I may have X amount, but they don't cross. So if you can share what these guys are doing in the community, all these awesome things they're doing, you know, if Becky has a cycling class, even though I don't go, I'm not afraid to share it because some of our friends do. As business owners, if we can share what everyone else does, either on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, all those things, we help each other grow. You know, Virgil always has a house for sale. If it's something that I think somebody I know would like, I always share it.
Yeah.
You know, Jackie does her $1,000 at Christmas. Is it 1,000, Jackie? And it's just unbelievable. But when I shared that, all these people were like, what's she doing? Help Jackie grow, help Grant grow, help Chris, a plant therapy grow. Well, no, Chris, you don't need to grow anymore. But
Sorry, Chris. Please still come to our panel this afternoon.
But, you know, if we can help each other, Bruce Whipple, that's sitting out there, made my signs. I have people come in, who made your signs? So I started sharing Bruce's stuff. Help each other. more than anything, let's help each other grow.
Yeah, I think that when we look at our community not as competition, but as allies, it changes the entire way you treat people, right? You guys aren't my competition. You guys are a part of my community. And when I win and when you win, guess what? I win, right? I don't have to directly make revenue to win. Sometimes I can make somebody else win, and it's just as valuable because we're not just building me, we're building our community.
Well, and it's the same industry. Becky and I are competition in a very small way,
Yeah.
but I have no problem referring people to her. Twin Falls Pie is growing so much bigger that, like you said, we only need that 1%. So let's
Yeah.
help the people that are in the same industry
Somebody
get
told
bigger.
me not too long ago, the table's big enough for all of us to eat.
Totally.
And it's so true. It's so true. I mean, I can't do every head of hair in Twin Falls, nor do I want to. Like,
Yeah.
I'm good. So, you know, when it comes to a man client, if I can't get him in, like, go to the barbershop. They can walk right in. Like,
Yeah.
you have to wait 10 days to see me. Sorry. Like,
Yeah.
but you can go see him on the same day. And so it's just, the table's big enough for all of us to eat. We just
Absolutely.
need to all sit down.
Absolutely. I think that's so good to remember. Like, man, if I look out there and go, oh no, another business just like me came in, if my immediate response is how can I shut them down, I guarantee that will not grow your business.
Right.
It doesn't feel like a logical train of thought, right? But when you do things excellently and you come alongside of other people and you build them up, believe it or not, most people love being built up. And if they're unable, like, oh, I can't get you in at my shop, but hey, I have this friend who's amazing. Let me tell you about him. Go support them, go support local, and go build this community. That's phenomenal. And we all have a spot. This community is big enough for all of us to both exist and not only survive, but thrive. And I think that's important that we don't look at it as competition, but as community. So that's a great point. Let's do one more question. I have time for one more question. Everyone's like, oh, I hope mine's good enough to be the last one.
Bueller.
Did I see a hand? I don't know if I did. I thought I might have. Oh, yeah, okay. You guys can rock, paper, scissors for it. I'm just kidding. Here, I'm going to step out of the way because I feel like when I stand here, I'm in the way of your mic.
So not really a question, but more of a sharing point. So in the business industry, we always talk about like, what is your why? And I think that's great to share with other people to help them grow as well. So that would be my question to you. What is your why?
Ooh, we've been talking about it today. What is your guys' why? Because your why will help you be resilient, right? If you know your why, you're going to be resilient because you know not just what you're doing, but why you're doing it. So what are some thoughts?
Sam, that's tough.
It's bringing the heat.
Because our why isn't just to cut hair. We want to be that community spot where people come together and sit and talk and help each other. We're not just a barbershop, I guess. So our why is to be more than a barbershop.
That's a good why. Yeah.
So my tagline for my business, my why is every event should be a special event, whether it's a wedding or a conference or a Christmas party. Every event should be a special event, and everybody who's involved should feel like they belong there.
That's wonderful. Yeah.
I'd say my why from my business standpoint as a counselor with Grand Canyon is I've been out in a rural area and seen that people don't think they can complete an education. So they've got so many courses towards an associate and they don't see. So being able to sit down with somebody and a teacher and help them to realize you can get your master's. This is all you have to do. And my visual has been it like you start talking to them and it's like the elevator goes up to the top and then the lights come on and then there's a dance party.
I do like dance parties.
Yeah, and so my why is to help people to see that they can complete an education, whether it's an undergrad or a master's, that they can get it done.
Yeah.
But in our area, in our rural area, you don't have to go to University of Idaho away to go to school. You don't have to go to BSU to go to school, that you can actually do it online and you can get it done. You can get your why done.
That's awesome. To help other people find their why. Wow, that's a double why. There you go. What about you, Becky?
I mean, obviously, to help people and to change people's lives. And it doesn't have to be big. It can be small. Maybe it's a new habit they formed up. Maybe it's heart health. But like I said, my members are family. And when we first opened, I remember asking a girl, why are you here? Like, what are your goals? And she was an ICU nurse. And she said, because if I'm running to somebody who's coding, I don't want to code myself. And everybody's goals are different. And so for me, it's about finding out what somebody's goals are and making sure they're successful. Whether they want to be there to feel good, whether it's for their mental health, whether it is to lose weight, whatever their goal is, whatever that means. Maybe it's to be more flexible. We have a lady in our over 50s Pilates class, her goal is to touch the floor.
Yeah.
Because when she bends over, she can only hit she was getting just like almost like halfway between her knee and her toes right before COVID. Now she's back up to her knees because she had to take a break. And so everybody's goals are different. Find out what their goals are and make those happen for them.
Yeah.
And that's my why, and to form that love and community. And we have a really great community. So.
Yeah. That's great. Those are all wonderful answers and great questions. Thank you guys for asking them. I'm going to leave them with one final spot. I have just 7 minutes left. I've been watching my time. I'm valuing yours to the best of my ability. I'm going to leave them with this final question. Then we're going to go and I'll give you some instructions on lunch. We have some great opportunities for you guys during lunch and some free vouchers to go support some local businesses. But anyway, my last question is, what are the rhythms that you have that make you resilient? What are some rhythms, habits that you formed in your life that have helped you be resilient?
Structure.
So I show up every day, even during the pandemic, even when I'm not feeling well, even when I'm not on my game. I get dressed, I do my hair, brush my teeth. Everybody should be brushing their teeth.
Yeah. No, we should. That's true.
I show up every day. You know, in the event industry, you know, I work a lot of nights and weekends, but Monday morning I still get up. And I still prepare for my day, even if that is sitting at home in front of my computer, nobody seeing me. I need to feel good and put together and prepared for the day.
Yeah, that's wonderful. Yeah, what else? What are some other rhythms you guys have?
Mine is structure. People ask me all the time, like running 2 very active businesses, how I do it. Well, every day's a new day, and I have a plan for that day. And if something gets thrown in there, then it goes all to hell. But for structure, that's my resilience, is having that structure. But then also people will say, oh, you work out so much, I bet you can just eat whatever you want. No, because every day I bring my best. And if I bring my best, then they will too.
Yeah.
And that's how I stay resilient.
Yeah, so your rhythms of structure. That's great. Stan?
Mine's my kids. I make sure my son has breakfast every morning. I pack his lunch. My son and I do Fun Filled Friday. And I don't care what comes in my way. I make sure my kids and my family is first, and then I worry about the business.
Yeah,
and that seems to work for me.
Absolutely. Rhythm of family. That's wonderful. Paige?
I'd say for me, the rhythm of reading, journaling, I do a lot of that in the morning. That's like the first thing I do when I get up: read, journal, drink coffee.
The Trinity.
And also structure, you know, planning your meals and then planning your exercise. I mean, people laugh at me and Becky. I mean, I will go into my calendar and I will, on a Sunday, I put my exercise in my calendar. And it's an appointment with my health, and it's an appointment. We have one temple, one body, and we better take care of it.
Make sure to take a time to give appointments for yourself. That's good. I'm going to schedule some appointments for myself after this as well. Well, thank you guys so much. Can we give it up for our incredible panel? Thank you guys. Y'all are